The undead, the Z virus, zombies. The zombie horror genre is something that has been prevalent in all forms of media for a long time. Some virus natural events cause people to turn into horrifying mindless drones upon death, hunting down normal people and turning them into one of them. The trope has been overused to the point where I don't think people really find zombies scary anymore. But that's besides the point. After deep diving through a plethora of zombie manga, and by deep diving I mean reading the manga recommended to me by CBR, I found what I believe to be the 3 best zombie manga out there. And before anyone asks, yes, I read Hatchet of the Dead, and no, just know. Some of you need to go outside and be bonded to grass on a subatomic level. How in God's name are people getting into these kinds of situations while fighting for their lives? Freaks. Well, without any further ado, in no particular order, let's jump into my takes on the 3 best zombie manga. Please remember to like and subscribe. Starting off, we have Fort of the Apocalypse by Yu Kuraishi and Kazu Inabe. Sitting at a completed 10 volumes, Fort of the Apocalypse, for all intents and purposes, is your standard zombie survival manga, with just some slight deviations. It follows an unlikely group of individuals, the residents of the Shorin Academy Juvenile Center's Cell 4. Iwakura Go, age 17, serving a 3-year sentence after being involved in terrorist activities in a foreign country, and the murder of the terrorist group leader, with a single punch. Yamanoi Mitsuru, age 17, nicknamed Newman, serving a 2-year 6-month sentence after killing a man and hiding his body in the water tank of his apartment building. Yoshioka Masafumi, age 18, serving a 2-year 3-month sentence. Reason? I don't really know, but he's one of the most inherently violent inmates in the entire center, so it's not hard to think of what he might have done. And finally, Maeda Yoshiaki, age 16, sentence indefinite. After being wrongly accused of murder, Maeda is thrown to the juvenile detention facility, where he is forced to reckon with the worst of the Japanese youth. What he does know, however, is that this would also be his saving grace, because almost as soon as he's thrown in, the world was flipped on his head by the outbreak of a virus. The virus made people stronger, violent, resistant to pain, near immortal unless taking direct damage to the brain. This virus turned people into zombies. Unfortunately for Maeda and the new companions they made in Cell 4, the safest place from the zombie outbreaks in the world was none other than the detention facility, hence the name Fort of the Apocalypse. At first, the story is mainly focused on survival. The 4 companions leave the facility in hopes of finding Maeda's family and assessing just how far gone the rest of the world truly is. They soon realize that not only is Japan totally overrun by zombies, but that the average zombies aren't the only thing they have to worry about. Some people have evolved further than the average zombies, to beings far surpassing human limits. They can control hordes of zombies, release sonic waves powerful enough to rupture eardrums, and can survive even after having their brains crushed. This coupled with a growing extremist group who have come to worship these evolved zombies as some sort of god, and have no qualms with killing or turning those who oppose them. The team has to fight their way through hordes of zombies, zombie Super Saiyans, and now even armed fanatics, handling all of this with a level of calmness that's quite frankly sort of terrifying. Sure, there are parts where they're screaming and running for their lives, but when it really matters, these are some of the most calm and composed people in the face of danger. For a while, no matter what the world threw at them, they overcame it, and even managed to make some new allies along the way. Even though the entire planet had gone belly up, everything was going sort of well. That was until one of them got bit. Fort of the Apocalypse takes an old trope, one that's been beaten almost to death, and does it very, very well. It's proof that sometimes you don't need a new formula, just a new outlook. It's your standard issue zombie survival manga, done through the eyes of these teenagers who, before the world even turned, had seen a lot more death and violence than your average teenagers. And then you throw in this bright-eyed, optimistic 16-year-old in, and we're left to see how he not only survives the apocalypse, but how he learns to coexist with his new family. Aside from that, it's pretty much your standard zombie thriller. Well, until you get to the last 2 volumes, then it's anything from standard. If Fort of the Apocalypse was an old formula done right, then Zomb 100 Buckets of the Dead is like one of those formulas that keeps showing up in my engineering exams. You've probably never seen it before, and it's probably gonna blow your mind. Apparently, it's made by the same guys who made Alice in Borderland. When I first read Zomb 100, I genuinely didn't know what to think. It was wacky, funny, but it wasn't all over the place. The main character, Akira, is a 24-year-old very, very overworked salaryman. His work conditions are so bad that the manga terms him as a wage slave. He's unfulfilled, lacking on sleep, and feels like he's wasting his life. So when one day he wakes up to see the world overrun by zombies, he couldn't be happier. Do you know how absolutely shit your place of work has to be for you to prefer the literal end of the world? Crazy stuff. So Akira is young, free of obligations, and ready to live his life to the fullest. So he started a bucket list, 100 things to do before he became a zombie. The only issue was he didn't have 100 things. and braving a new strange world on your own is kind of lonely. So Akira sets out to find his college best friend, Kenichiro, who coincidentally has spent the last 3 years of his life working an unfulfilling job just like Akira. Seeing as how the end of the world seems to be the best time to live out your dreams, they join up and add more things to their list and travel Japan, taking them off one by one, picking up more companions and adding more things to their list as they go on. One thing I wasn't expecting when I started reading this manga was just the sheer amount of emotion it would evoke. Not even from the death of characters, as you would expect something of this genre, but by the characters left alive. Everyone who joins Akira's group joined because they have something they want to do before they die. Sure, a lot of it might be trivial, like getting dreads or eating a chunk of manga meat, but more times than not, a lot of things on the list really mean a lot to the characters themselves. Like Kenichiro, for instance, who, now free of the restraints of his former life, decides to live out his dream of becoming a stand-up comedian. And in a world where death is as prevalent as the air they breathe, that means bringing joy to the lives of people who've lost everything. Or Kenji, who wants to give back to his parents who he feels like he's neglected, and who basically gave up their dreams in order for him to live a good life. And he has to go out searching for them, not even knowing whether they're still alive or not. Everyone who eventually joins the crew has one of two goals. Either to make the end of the world a better place for those who are still fighting, or try not to die with their dreams still unfulfilled. Having these sort of characters in a world setting where you wouldn't normally expect these sort of goals ends up making Zomb 100 a really emotional ride. While the zombies in this manga aren't nearly as terrifying or dangerous as the other zombies in the other manga on this list, the threat they pose are still very real. So while the manga is a fun ride filled with lots of laughs and emotional experiences, remember that this is still in fact a zombie manga. Your favorite character might just get bit at any moment. If For the Apocalypse is your standard zombie formula done well, and Zomb 100 is a fun new take on an old classic, then I Am Hero has elements of both, while simultaneously being its own unique piece, with a character who is both extremely relatable and extremely unrelatable at the same time. Hideo is a strongly assistant mangaka. No matter how many times he tries to break out and have his own manga sterilized, he always comes up short. His mangas just aren't good enough, or isn't what the public is looking for at the moment. He's overworked, underpaid, and has trained interns who have gone on to have their own work sterilized while he's left behind. In society's eyes, he's a loser. He also struggles with insecurities and anxiety to the point where his mind creates weird and disturbing scenarios to help him cope. His life is objectively shit, but no matter how much the world put him down, he wouldn't yield. With the love and support of a slightly crazy girlfriend, Hideo will create a manga that will go on to be remembered for hundreds of years. Yeah, no. Crazy thing is, if Kengo Hanazawa went on to produce an entirely different series just following Hideo as he navigates through life as an assistant mangaka, I guarantee you it might even do better than I Am a Hero. The way the mangaka writes Hideo is just... it's quite literally one of the most relatable things I've read in my life. That's kind of depressing when I think about it. Hideo's life is a perpetual string of mistakes and bad luck. That coupled with the fact that his anxiety keeps getting the better of him leads into a really interesting story, and that's before the world turns into the zombie apocalypse. What separates Hideo from the other characters on his list is his refusal to accept that the world is coming to an end. He still pays for stuff at a grocery store when he takes them, still believes that the self-defense force will restore order, and even still thinks to get arrested for all the zombies he's killed when this is all over. Hideo doesn't suddenly just become this zombie-killing badass. He just happens to have a gun on him when the world went to shit. He's just a normal person who found it hard coping with the world before he turned to the apocalypse. Now, he's just trying his best not to be eaten. At least that's how it starts. Eventually, Hideo ends up having to take care of this high school girl, and instead of just trying to keep himself alive, he has to make sure this girl stays alive and well. With the responsibility of another life on his hands, Hideo has to be stronger. He has to be a hero. But it's at this point that the manga starts to get really weird, with no explanation as to why. I'm not even gonna say too much about it, simply because some of it is really messed up. I don't think I can say that on YouTube, and it's just really weird for me to explain. I don't really think I understand the entirety of I Am Hero. I might have to go back and read it again to get like the full grasp on it. All I can say is that it's just a really weird manga. Really interesting, but also really weird. It's in no way a bad manga, don't get me wrong. I just wasn't expecting it to go so far left so fast. One thing I do love about I Am Hero though, is the little side stories with other characters that find a way to tie themselves into the main plot expertly. It's one of the things that make the manga really good in my opinion. And it's probably the most realistic zombie manga on this list. It shows what would happen if people were really faced with the threats of the world coming to an end. In times of extreme stress, people revert back to their most primal instinct. They have no care for anyone except for themselves, and I Am Hero shows that to a disturbing degree. I Am Hero delves into human nature at its worst and at its weirdest. It might not be the manga for everyone, but I assure you, if you sit down and read it, you might actually have a really good time. If you want a hard and gritty zombie survival manga, so do I, help me find one. But if you want a manga that delves into the pit of human nature, while also being really weird, I Am Hero is the one for you. So that is my take on the 3 best zombie manga of all time. Drop your favorite zombie manga in the comments below, and as always, is the source material signing out. Bliss.